This is a fight that I wanted to look at anyways, but when the rematch was announced, we had no other choice, so let's get straight into it. So Volk in that first minute, like how he just did there, is feinting a lot of uppercuts to keep Islam from shooting in for takedowns, but I'm not sure that was Islam's game plan anyways. I think he was a little bit smarter than it to rush in without any setups. As the round progresses, Volk starts getting more aggressive with the way he's closing distance, and he starts grabbing at that hand and getting more foot pressure, closing the distance more and more, inching forward. And as he does, Islam is trying to diffuse that pressure with a body kick. Two things you're probably going to see a lot is Volk doing the entry feints where he looks like he's going to step in but doesn't, and then there's also going to be that hand fighting. So that right there, Volk extending that lead hand to try and get control of Islam's, and then Islam is going to extend his lead hand, and when he does, Volk is going to get underneath it to land some combos. Some of it misses, some of it lands. And the important thing here is that throughout the fight, he's stepping through on his combos to switch stances, so he ends up in southpaw while he's throwing it and then goes back to orthodox. And this sequence right here is a common thread throughout the fight. Volk steps in, Islam jumps back, and notice how he jumps back. That's an important thing for later. He jumps back, and Volk is stepping through with the left hand like how he did earlier, and Islam is trying to catch him with the right hook, and Volk actually gets grazed a little bit. And a couple seconds later, a similar sequence, but what's different is that he gets control of that lead hand, so he has control of the distance far better now because he has a tracker on where Islam is, and he's controlling that guard so Islam can't hold that hand up. So when he steps in, now his back shoulders align with Islam's head, and Islam is lined up for the left, which knocks him off balance. So here's one of the adaptations Volk does early on. While throwing that combo, he ends it with a leg kick, and that's something he's going to be doing for the rest of the fight, so he can catch Islam while he's jumping back, because the legs have more range than the arms. Here I would say Islam actually sets a trap for Volk. He gives one little leg kick, barely, it's not even turned over, has no power on it, and then the teep, kind of same thing. They're not really, those strikes don't really have much power committed to them, which is why I think this is a trap. So Volk jumps in response, has to get those points back. He jumps in, and Islam is instantly ready to respond. He has that right hook ready, and then in this exchange, he lands a left and a right, kind of cuffs but misses, and then this left right here puts Volk down, and it doesn't even land with the hand. It lands more like with the wrist and forearm, but it has enough force to knock Volk off balance and probably hurt him a little bit. And Islam does a good job of tracking Volk's head movement and using different strikes. So there he uses the kick because Volk is slipping, so he catches him to that side. And then a couple seconds later, same thing. He knows Volk is ducking in response to a lot of the attacks, so he tries to throw a knee. Another adaptation of Volk. Now when he's stepping in, he's not just targeting up top. He's throwing those shots to the body in response to Islam's guard change. So he's mixing up targets. One place Islam was having consistent success was targeting Volk with that body kick as Volk was entering into range. And whenever Islam would tag him, Volk would usually try and respond. He'd try and enter in the range again, and notice what Islam does. He jumps back. That jump back is very important. And then Volk is trying to throw his combo, and Islam's trying to counter, but Volk is now adapting. So rather than just coming in with his head on the center line, he's now getting underneath that check hook that Islam is repetitively throwing, and now he's trying to throw counters to that. So that's another adaptation. He changed it up to the body, but he's also ducking upon entry. Now the reason I kept mentioning Islam jumping back is because this moment right here, Volk is stepping through with another blitz. Islam is looking to counter. Volk is getting underneath that check hook, but as he is, Islam is still jumping back, and notice his feet are off the ground. Volk doesn't land anything in this combo, but Islam's feet are literally coming off the ground, and then when he hits the cage, he falls over, which makes it look like it's a drop, but it's technically not because Volk didn't even land. He does drop him later on though. And Volk ending these combos with leg kicks is just happening more and more often because they're landing repetitively because Islam doesn't have an adaptation. He's jumping back, and so when you're jumping, you have no choice but to land and plant. So Islam was going to find the most success countering the entries upon Volk's blitzes or Volk exiting after throwing a shot. So here Volk throws a shot and he's going to try and step back, but he throws that right, which leaves him open for Islam's left, and it hurts him. If you want to see me cover more MMA content, like and subscribe. Let's go. This is a key for Volk. When he's blitzing in the range, he has to get his head off the center line, slip, duck, do something, because when he doesn't, when he just rushes straight in, he runs into counters just like that. Now this is the adaptation from Islam. He's not taking big jumps back. He takes a little jump back and he plants, and tries to rip the cross. So now he's putting that shot straight down the line rather than trying to hook around, because Volk kept getting underneath that. Volk is going to give a little feint. Islam gives a little reaction. Then he does the real thing. So feint disguised as the real thing. Islam jumps back, looks for the check hook. So it's very similar to what we've been seeing. But this time, Volk does something different. He steps that lead leg around, goes inside, hooks around Islam's lead leg, and then he trips him out with that. Volk, who in my opinion has one of the better, if not the best jab in the UFC, he was having trouble utilizing that jab for a couple reasons. And so let's look at this for example. So at featherweight, he usually has that reach advantage. He has like a 72-inch reach, even though he's like 5'7". And right there, we see him overreach. And then he's going to overreach again, but this time when he overreach, Islam pulls back and he can counter over top. So Volk was having trouble not only getting into range, but then also the different angle of the southpaw, which means that southpaw can counter his jab. So that's why Volk was having trouble. Again, a lot of the sequences start off the same. Feint from Volk to make it look like a real blitz, but it's not a real blitz. And then he's going to do the real thing. And when he does the real thing, Islam anticipates it, gets underneath, double leg. So Islam's timing with striking is underrated, like I said earlier, but not just the timing with striking, he also is able to time in his takedowns. When I say a fighter is adapting, it's because they're showing a pattern of repeated behavior. So in this case, Islam is showing he's adapting to Volk's entries because he's repetitively throwing shots to intercept them. So those uppercuts and those knees, they keep showing up, and he's catching Volk with some of those. And then we're gonna see a very similar sequence to what we just saw a minute ago. Islam gets underneath that blitz and gets a takedown. But this is what's great about a high level pound for pound fight, is that it's constant adjustment, constant over and over and over and over. Volk adapts, then Islam adapts, and then vice versa, so on and so forth. And so we get a moment like this where Volk is gonna look to enter again. He touches that lead hand, he's getting that range. That tells him, okay, I'm in range. And then once he gets that data in, instead of shooting in with the hook and ducking down like he normally does, that level change is to catch Islam ducking. That was very intentional. So instead of blitzing like how he normally was, he throws the cross. He hasn't been throwing the cross. He usually start with a hook and throw the cross after. So he intercepts Islam's takedown counter and he counters the counter. That's high IQ at work for both of the guys. I think this will be the second fight will be a really great fight, just like the first. I don't know who I have winning. I think Volk was very impressive, but both of them showed they had underrated aspects of their game. Volk's grappling was proven to be underrated, because a lot of people thought he was going to get dominated and he didn't get washed like how they said. Same thing for Islam. His striking was underrated. He showed a lot of great adjustments on the feet. I think his technique is, questionable at times, but he knows what he's doing, and he shows the ability to adapt and adjust even with somebody like Volk. Tell me who you thought won the first fight and tell me who you think will win the second. That is all. Immortality Serum out.